That's what wisdom develops within through me.
Right,
They
right.
believe in him. So yeah, I'm cool.
Well, we got a precept for you. You go to church? You go to church? Yes or no?
This is the church right here.
Okay, then, yeah, you're right.
It ain't no building. This is the church. You don't dwell in the building. He said, I don't get no thoughts and inspiration. I just listen to being saved, but I understand what God has in me. You know, I see truth from him. I don't see it from me. But I listen to it. Well, the sheep would hear the voice.
Right, true. So what was your question that you was wanting to
My
ask?
question is that I want you to listen that when slaves, back in the day, all the slave stuff, the white man, black culture today don't know who they are. That's where they come from. I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. See, my great-grandfather was from Benjamin. Back in the day, some people got to Honduras. And my grandma, that's a Sioux. So they made up. My grandfather was Choctaw. So he's already blacks here already. So, but my grandfather was my great-grandfather. He's a black Benjamin.
Right, but I don't mean to
Go ahead.
rub the wrong way. I was just asking, still asking you a question.
I did ask you a question. I was asking you, I was saying the Book of Secrets.
Yeah.
Up in, what's in this? The Book of Secrets up in the front of the library. There's a book that it's written there where black men do not know, the actual black men don't know where it came from. If you know what I'm saying, and keep him, when they were slaves from generation to generation to generation, it's lost to them.
All right, now check this out right here.
This is Revelations 11, and you want me to start at 9, 3 days.
So I'm asking y'all, do y'all believe that?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you right here.
This is Revelations
right? Who's gonna tell you about slavery?
11 and 10. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth.
Yeah, them two prophets talk about the northern and southern kingdom. What you see right here. Like Judah, Benjamin, Levi, that's it. Up and down to the right. All right, that's right.
Verse 11, and after 3 days and a half.
After what? 3 days and a half. Representing what? 350 years. He was enslaved. All right, going back to 19, 16, 20 to 1969, 1970. You added up that 350 years. Also, brother, get that in Daniel 2. Go ahead.
And after 3 days and a half.
Right, after the 3 days and a half, we went through our punishment. Hardcore slavery we were speaking about. Right here. Go ahead.
This is Revelation 11:12, and they heard, it's 11:11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them.
Now, see, the spirit entered to us by the way of the man, our business. All right. Do you know anything about a man named Abba Business? No. All right. Go ahead, Doc.
Enter into them, and they stood upon their feet.
Right. See, we stood upon our feet. Go ahead.
And great fear fell upon them which saw them.
Right in Ezekiel 3, when he told Ezekiel to stand upon his feet, the spirit to him.
This is Revelation 11:11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet.
And that's what you see now. We stand upon our feet. Right.
And great fear fell upon them.
Great fear fell upon us.
Which saw them. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. Right. And they ascended up to heaven.
Now and they're talking about the salvation like that. All right. Like I say, wisdom. You got Proverbs 120. Go ahead.
I got
grab Proverbs 120.
I got it.
Go ahead, bro.
This is Proverbs chapter 1, verse 20.
Right? This is what you see, because the Lord said, go on the highways and the hedges, right? Beg them to the man that has been fulfilled, right? Go ahead.
Wisdom cried without.
See, wisdom cried without. We're speaking on wisdom.
She uttered her voice in the streets.
That's what we did. So you was right when you said the temple is here. Because the Lord said they're not a temple, but yeah, so he dwell not a temple made with hands. Go ahead.
She cried in the chief places of concourse.
Chief place of concord, you go to the word concord, basically means place of business. Alright, go ahead.
In the opens of the gates.
In the opening of the gates. Go ahead.
In the city, she uttered her words, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity?
Right.
And the scorners delight in their scorning, and the fools hate knowledge.
Hate knowledge. That's what you have right now. Alright. So going back to your question, that's the answer. Anything else? My background is you guys.
Well, you know, not everybody hates knowledge.
It depends on what type of knowledge it is. So you got two different types of knowledge. But right at again, wisdom of this world is foolish, because you got the knowledge of this world,
Yeah.
and then you got the knowledge of the Most High. See, everybody ain't in cahoots with the knowledge of the Most High.
Oh, I know that.
You know what I'm saying? So you gotta know the different type of knowledge you're talking about. Everybody separate. Because one thing about it, everybody didn't accept the Lord. So they not gonna accept His word. They say that in the book of John 17 chapter.
Because let me tell you something, truthfully and honestly, even though we got the version of the King James, we have other versions of Bibles, you know, the New one. But the original language, you know what I'm saying? And the original book, you know what I'm saying? And the original name of God, you know what I'm saying?
The original book, right?
That is,
That's 1611.
yeah, I got that too. But that's 1611, still the King James Version. That was written, I know when that book came out. And I knew it was written and how many were written by it. But I'm talking about the real book that God gave Moses. I ain't talking about that book. I'm talking about the real book God gave Moses.
Got it.
I got a song. Yeah.
Gave Moses. Because I got that, I got Septuagint and all that. I'm talking about the real book that he gave Moses, the true language and true interpretation, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to discredit now, but that book right there, the King James, I'm not gonna dispute it. It's a very good guide, but it calls for understanding. But I'm talking about the real book that he gave Moses and the rest of them. You know, that New Testament stuff, like I said, it's the Old Testament revealing, but all Jesus did back in the day, called the Holy Spirit, God goes to Mashiach, he was teaching from the old, you know what I'm saying? To bring the people back.
Yeah, you talking about the Hebrew scrolls.
Yes.
Yeah, scrolls.
The original scroll.
The Bible was translated from the Hebrew into the English language. From the old English.
It was transferred to Septuagint, from the Septuagint to the Greek to the Greek.
The Septuagint is something else.
Yeah.
The Septuagint is the Greek form of the Bible. Septuagint is not accurate.
Yeah,
right?
it sure is.
Septuagint goes into 70. So it was 70 books that they translated into the Greek. That came out of the Ptolemies. Yeah. Right? But that don't got nothing to do with the actual divine scriptures. All right? The divine scriptures, King James was an Israelite. All right? So this message is to the Israelites.
Because King James was a black man.
King James was a black man.
And he was an Israelite.
He was a Scot.
Yeah.
And he was from the tribe of Judah.
Yes.
When you go into it. But what he's saying,
but they got him a white King James.
What he's saying is that the king, because they whitewashed the history of the Israelites, including the one that you even call Jesus Christ, which that's not his name. What you're talking about is the original Hebrew scrolls. The original writings weren't written in books; they was written on scrolls.
Yes.
Yeah. And kept in synagogues.
Yeah, and then some of them was left out because some of them, the Roman didn't feel like they belonged in there.
I heard you speaking about secret books.
Yeah.
I thought you may have been talking about what they call the Apocrypha, because that's called hidden away. I don't. Other than what else you talking about is really, I'm gonna say this. Is really irrelevant because all you need is these 80 books. That's it. Because there's Ecclesiastes, the 12th, Ecclesiastes 12th chapter, 14th verse. For the making of many books, there's no end, and none shall want her mate. So there's always, matter of fact, there's so many writings that are not in this book.
Okay.
That actually were divine.
Yeah.
But guess what? The spirit of that's in this book, in the contents of this holy Bible, all right, the Apocrypha included, is all you need to attain salvation. That's it. Get that scripture real quick.
Yeah, Ecclesiastes 12.
Yeah.
It's Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 12. And further, by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end.
So admonish means warn. Be warned that to the making of many books, there is no end. Now, get that in Ephesians, be ye not tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine. Now, there's a lot of hidden information. You got, the Vatican got all type of information of records. They know these people right here, yeah, of course, they know who we are. They know who God's chosen people are, all right? Because get First Maccabees 3 and 48. Give me Ephesians first.
It's Ephesians 4 and 14.
You listening?
That we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine.
So there's a lot of philosophers, there's a lot of so-called prophets that are false prophets that have written books. There's a lot of highly esteemed authors that have written books. But none of that matters because unless you have the Holy Spirit and the understanding that's in the contents of these 80 books, right? All that's going to confuse you. Not saying that there's not some truths in some books, but the thing about it is you got to have a spirit of understanding. You got to know, according to the Most High's righteousness, what the judgment is in this book. Okay? Go ahead.
This First Maccabees 3 and 48. Then they opened the book of the law.
Right. Hey, Baba Kushab. What's your name? Ma'am, what's your name? Dolores. You see that sign right there? Can you pick that sign up there?
Here?
Yeah, pick that up for me. All right. Now turn it the other way. Now you see that? Now, what? Look at that while he read this scripture. Go ahead.
This First Maccabees 3 and 48. And they opened the book of the law, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their image.
Now you see the sign this brother holding to the left of you? The heathen, right? All right. Number one, heathen is the self-proclaimed white man. He painted the image of the one that where he calls Jesus Christ as himself. And that image is the image of Caesar Borgia, all right? That's Renaissance art right there, okay? Now that man you see on that sign you holding, that's Michelangelo, all right?
Right here.
Yeah, he the one that, you know about the Sistine Chapel?
Yeah,
He the one that painted the finger of God touching Adam, butt naked, all that perverse painting of all those white people. They done that. Now read that scripture again.
This First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. And they opened the book of the law, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Now you know about the Maccabees, you know about the history of the Maccabees?
Yes.
So what age or what dynasty were they in? What kingdom were they in? What kingdom was ruling during the time?
The Maccabees?
No, the Maccabees weren't ruling.
The Maccabees did though.
No, what kingdom were they in? The Greek. That was those were the Greeks, right? You get Alexander the Greek, right? Now it wasn't during the time of Alexander the Greek. It was after his descendants, all right? Which his descendants were Antiochus, all right? Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lacedaemonius, all right? Those were his generals that took over the Greek Empire, all right? So they were fighting against the Greeks. Those were so-called self-proclaimed white people because back then, guess what? Nobody was identified as white. The English language didn't even exist.
No.
Right? So the original, they had the Bible, they had the Old Testament, right? The Old Testament was written in Hebrew. So the language prominent back then would have been what? Hebrew and Greek, okay? So that's the confusion that a lot of our people who think they know the Bible come and say, well, everybody can be saved. Because this was a heavy time of us falling away from our heritage and losing our identity. This was
the time right there.
That was the prominent time where we really, because in the Egyptian captivity we knew we were Israelites.
Yeah.
Babylonian, Medo-Persian captivities, we knew we were Israelites. It wasn't until the time of the Greeks coming into power, right, that they Hellenized us, okay, and they forced us not to keep our laws, not to keep our customs, not to keep our culture.
What they just did when they brought the dark skinned races over here.
Well, that was prophecy, right? That was prophecy in Revelation, the 12th chapter. But we don't want to take you just too deep into those revelations. But anyway, what happened was we fled into the western coast, the western coast of Africa, fleeing the Roman persecution. So you know a little, you know a little bit. Yeah, you know a little bit.
And then when they went to get us got slaves, Judah was right in the middle of the dogs of Africa. There was a segment.
Well, it was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. It was the kingdom of Judah. Yeah. You got what you call. You got what you call.
They took their books and everything. That's what they do. But they also had built the land. They built a kingdom right there between, right there in dark Africa, right in the after what
you talking about the Straits.
You know where they right there in Africa land.
Look, the southern kingdom, right? It's known as the kingdom of Judah, but that consists of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right. Yeah, you had those three tribes. Those were the prominent tribes that were left in the Roman Empire when the one that we're going to call Jesus Christ was doing his ministry. All right, and that's why he said, "Other sheep I have of this fold." So the other sheep was the northern kingdom. Okay, the northern kingdom was over here.